Alright guys, Papa Pepper here in the garden today, and I'm going to go through 7 things you should consider as you're gardening. This can be for newer people or some good things to kind of think about even for people who've been gardening for a while. The first thing would just be space. I think this is the most important thing to evaluate. Here behind me, pretty much everything that you see that's brown is garden space, and I plan on devoting more room, more space to my garden. Now when I lived in the city on a 1/4 acre plot, I was able to manage about a 20 by 30 garden area, and that was all. So you're going to want to evaluate exactly how much you have as far as land, as far as space to actually be growing. And there are some ways to utilize and make the most of the space that you have. And I cover some of that stuff periodically. I'll probably link one video for some food for thought for people. But that's going to be the first and foremost biggest thing you should consider. The second thing you should probably consider would be your growing zone. Right here I'm on the border of 6 and 7. So although a lot of short season crops, you know, pretty much cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, other things, people, you know, figure out how to grow in all sorts of different areas. But then also if you're dealing with different perennials, or things that you could potentially overwinter, your actual growing zone is going to come into play. I remember back up north, you know, we'd have less than 6 months of growing time probably. I wouldn't even often plant things out in my garden till sometimes the 1st of July, just because there was still a risk of things coming and, you know, freezes coming. Where here, we get a lot more growing time. So your growing zone and how hot it gets in the summer, how cold it gets in the winter, these are all things that are going to come into play as you begin to garden and as you kind of carry on with trying to provide more of your own food. So the third thing I'm going to bring up would be ability. And this can be viewed in a number of ways, but there's a lot of things to consider when we talk about ability. Number one is, you know, if you can't bend over to weed or harvest, you know, then maybe a higher raised bed is going to better suit you. And if you're dealing with a higher raised bed, you're going to have probably less gardening area that you're actually going to be able to deal with. Another focus of ability is just, are you actually going to be able to harvest everything that you plant? For some people, if they got a lot of animals, you can hear some of mine in the background, anything that's not actually harvested in time to feed to people can still be animal food. But ideally, you're going to be wanting to make the best use of the amount of food, you know, that you're trying to grow. So the ability to kind of keep it weeded, keep it watered, keep it harvested, comes into play. So just, you know, here I've got almost 6 kids so far, plus mama, plus me. We've got a lot of hands that can do a lot of work, and they certainly picked a lot of tomatoes last year for sure, those kids did. But so we've got, you know, a little easier to harvest large amounts of stuff than some people, but still, you're going to want to think about the ability. And then another thing is going to be effort. I was moving my pitayas, dragon fruits. Those are going to be used in about a zone 10 or 11 as an outdoor plant. So for 3 winters now, I've brought mine in the winter and brought mine out in the spring and let them be outside during the summer. And I was, my dad was visiting from Wisconsin while we were putting things away this last fall, and he goes, wow, this seems like a lot of effort, you know. It depends on how much you want to put into different things. Are you going to have plants that you're going to need to be pruning? Are you just going to be dealing with annuals? Are you going to be dealing with ones that you need to overwinter? Are you going to, you know, have to put up a greenhouse, do other things? So the amount of effort that you put into things should be considered too as you contemplate, you know, gardening. So for the most part, there are people who do like, you know, growing ornamentals and growing flowers and stuff too, but most people are in some sort of gardening mode for food. And with food comes preservation. And I want to bring up preservation because there's some things that you can really get a lot of, and then you're either going to need to spend the effort canning it, you're going to need to spend the freezer space freezing it, or dehydrating it, or whatever you may do. Our cucumbers we eat a lot fresh. We actually made it through, we made a bunch of dehydrated dill pickle chips that we pretty much made like some overnight refrigerator dills, sliced real thin, and then dehydrated them. They were great, they're gone, so I don't even have any to show as an example here. But then we do have a lot of cans of pickles as well, so preservation is going to be part of it. If you know that you're going to be planting more than you're going to be able to use and store, Then you either should work out some stuff with some neighbors as far as trading some stuff, maybe farmers market, other things, find an outlet to use the other things, but you're going to be wanting to be able to use them as much as you can and to put up as much as you can too. So as we contemplate gardening too, one other thing would be just growing what you like. A lot of different things here, everything we grow is used one way or another, is stuff that we like and we appreciate, and we've definitely grown some of certain plants, for years and years and years. So those are going to be staples in our gardens. We're going to be rotating the crops and not always plant them in the same place, but they're always going to be in our garden so they can be on our table. And then the seventh thing that I wanted to point out was to try new things. When we moved from up in Wisconsin, which I think, man, if I remember, it was like a zone 3 something, down here to the border of 6 and 7, there's not a lot of plants that did really well up there that I can't grow here, so I didn't give up much, but I did get into a lot of other things that I can also grow now, and that grow better here. So we've been experimenting with a lot of different new things. So my top 3 plants right now are Malabar spinach, snake gourds, and Chinese red noodle beans. All of those were unknown to us just a couple years ago. This big thing here is a dried snake gourd, right? We ate so many of these. We still got some in the freezer, loving them in stir fries, but that's something new that we gave it a try. We didn't know what it was going to be like. I actually made this gourd trellis here behind me for it. We grew a bunch last year, huge blessing to our family. Same thing with the Chinese red noodle beans. We've been growing Chinese noodle beans this will be our 4th season. We love them. They're incredible. They do so well for us, but they were a new thing we tried out. And then the Malabar spinach did absolutely fantastic. So great, especially through the heat of summer, and just an amazing plant for us to be growing. So glad we chose to grow it. But those are all new things. So while you do evaluate your space and your efforts and what zone you're in, and how much ability you're going to have to do these things, how much effort you're going to put into it, and what you do like to grow, and preserving your things, also think about what new things you may want to try. Because you may find something new that'll replace one of your old favorites. And if you're getting a lot more, food out of it with a lot less effort, with a lot greater ease, then you're going to be really happy that you tried something new. And for me, I just love the fact that when you kind of take control of your own diet a little more, what you're able to do is expand things in a way that the grocery store really can't do for you. The grocery store pretty much keeps it with the staples. Pretty much you have an opportunity to get what they sell, and that's it. But when you're growing, you can grow so many more varieties. You can grow so many more different things that just will never be at your grocery store. So I just love it, and that's part of why I love experimenting with new things too. So just 7 things to consider in gardening. Hopefully this helps. If you guys think I left some stuff out that should have been covered, comment below and let me know. And if I mentioned some stuff that you hadn't really thought about or you really appreciated hearing, let me know that too. I appreciate the encouragement. All right, Papa out.
As always, I'm Papa Pepper, and I'd like to remind you, don't post for free. If you'd like to be part of a revolution in social media, an economic power to the people where users can actually blog for cryptocurrency, then I'd recommend that you check out Steemit.com and join the revolution. Papa out.